And again, I'm going to be looking at a Wikipedia page. So this time I'm going to look at the list of countries by income inequality. So what I was kind of wondering was, what is the wealth distribution like in Ireland? I mean, is Ireland a country where basically, you have some people, you have the rich who get all the money, and the poor are just, the bottom 10% or top 50%. I mean, like, how does Ireland? How is the wealth distribution in Ireland? I suppose, in short, and how does it compare with other countries? And finally, how has that changed over the last while? So basically, was it that Ireland used to be a country of great equality, but then we had the Celtic Tiger boom, where suddenly we got, some people getting loads of money and the vast bulk of people getting nothing? Like, what happened? Well, maths is great at that because we can just look at the numbers and see. Again, this is the kind of stuff that you're doing in project maths, that you get numbers and then you know how to look at them. So here, what do we have? Content, countries, Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient is, well, as it says here, a quantity representative of a nation's Lorentz curve. It's something that's used to measure how equally the country's wealth is distributed, I suppose. Actually, it says it here. The Gini coefficient is a number between 0 and 1, where 0 corresponds with perfect equality, where everyone has the same income, and 1 corresponds to perfect inequality. Okay? So now let's look at the data. Or, you can pause and think for a moment. What do you think the answer is? What are your assumptions before we find out what the reality is? This is kind of nice. So these are things that they have here. So one thing is RP10. There's the ratio of income of the richest 10% to the poorest 10%. So, in a very unequal society, you'd expect the rich, so R over P is the rich over the poor, you'd expect the top 10% to have way more money. So R over P would be very big. And so it has two numbers there for either just the top and bottom 10% or 20%. And you also have the index. So you've got 3 different measures. You also have 3 different sources. You have the UN data, the CIA data, and the GPI data. Okay, that looks handy. So, you've got your big list of countries there. So what will I do? Well, my natural instinct would be, I'll start with the Gini, just because it's an arbitrary choice. So is this increasing or decreasing? I'm not finding anything here really. So most of them are blank. So I might come back to this later. I'll look at the top, the 10% figure. So Bolivia, I don't know what year the data's from, but that's 2002. The top 10% have like 100 times more money than the bottom 10%. That's the most unequal in this data. So at least Ireland is not number 1. Let's go down. So I'll pop down. Oh yeah, so what I want to do, first of all, see what the number is for Ireland. Then I'd like to compare it with, our kind of neighbours, as it were. Like, so how does Ireland compare to the UK? How does Ireland compare to America? How does Ireland compare to, I don't know, I suppose, France and Germany? Just to kind of put where we are in context. Okay, so now let's see. So China's 21. So it's pretty unequal, even though it's a communist country. And what year was that? 2005, but still. So at least Ireland's still not there. Portugal is 15. So that's the first EU country that I saw there. And again, at least it's not Ireland, so. Australia is 12.5. Still no Ireland. Italy 11. Still no Ireland. Spain 10. There's Ireland. 9.4. So not as bad as, I suppose, the pigs. You've got Greece, you have Spain and Italy above us, but we're the same as Canada. We're slightly higher than France and Switzerland. India is only 8.6. That's interesting. I wouldn't have known really, but Denmark. So you normally associate the Scandinavian countries because they pay higher tax, and it would more, to my mind. I mean, I'd expect the Scandinavian countries to have the lowest or lower than Ireland anyway. So Germany is 6.9. Now, did I miss England, or where's the United Kingdom? And where's the United States? That's odd. I'll go back up, sorry. I'll do a search. There's the United States. So United States is 15.9. I kind of would expect the states to have a higher, to have a higher inequality, but I'm just, here we're just looking at the data to see how things stand. So United States is 15.9. Where was Ireland again? I think it was 9 point something. There, 9.4. So that way, Ireland is the same as Canada, not as equal as Germany, or the Scandinavian countries, but more equal than the United States, Italy, Spain, Portugal, etc. My final comparison point would be United Kingdom. There, it's 13.8. So a lot, a good bit higher or a good bit greater inequality than we have. What did you think, or what had you expected before you found out? I don't know. I actually, I really didn't know at all, because on the one hand you kind of hear that there's great inequality, and then on the other hand, I don't know, but that's kind of not bad. I'm pretty happy with that actually. There's actually more here though, because it actually has data from the 70s, 80s, 90s, different periods. So you can also look at the data to see, but you can actually look at to see how the inequality has changed over the last while. So, have we been seeing more equality or less? So what I want to see here was, I forgot about the Gini coefficient, which is the kind of standard there. So Ireland is 29.3. Now I think 0 was perfect equality, so everyone having the same money. So, which in a way, I don't, that doesn't kind of make sense either. You don't want perfect equality in that whether I do anything or I work very hard, I should get the same. But on the other hand, you don't want it that it's each society has to decide how to what balance it wants, because you don't want to mess up, leave at the bottom whatever budge high and dry like. But again, I'm more mathsy and not my area of expertise, but relevant for everyone. So Ireland 29.3. So Canada is actually has greater inequality than Ireland, which again I wouldn't have expected. Likewise, France has greater inequality. So the ratio is lower. The top 10% ratio is lower. The top 20% divided by bottom 20% is actually the same as Ireland. I suppose what I wanted to see was, so see in Denmark you've got 29, and Germany I imagine would be lower. So it's more equality in Denmark, and I'd be kind of expecting that at 27 for Germany. So Germany and Scandinavian countries have more equality, but Canada doesn't, and the United States is 45, so that's a lot higher, and UK 34. Okay, so it's pretty much similar to what we saw from the ratios. What I wanted to look at, like the final data set we kind of have here, is this. So you have the data in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, late 2000. So how has Ireland changed over this period? Wait, what's happened here? The data used to be there. Ireland's suddenly gone blank. Okay, come back here. So this, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, this is the Gini coefficient before taxes and transfers. So that data is not there for Ireland. What, to me, the relevant data is after taxes, because that's where the state gets to express itself. Does it penalise the less well off? Or does it help them? Here we can see that no, it's Ireland. So to begin with, in the 80s, Ireland had a Gini coefficient of 0.33. Remember, higher is less equality. By the time we hit the 90s, it was down to 0.324. So we were becoming a more equal society. As we got around to the year 2000, it had fallen further to 0.3. By the late 2000s, it was 0.293. Surprising that that's the anomaly, why we have one number where the trend wasn't down. But basically, it means we have for the last 30 years been getting greater and greater equality. That's not everywhere. Look at Italy. Italy in the 80s was 0.30. But by the mid-90s, by 2000 and late 2000s, now like they're 0.33. So Italy's become a more unequal society. Actually, in Denmark also, more inequality, but still a very low number. So, it can't be too harsh. Canada, greater inequality. So, Ireland's direction has been towards greater inequality, or to greater equality. the point here is that this is after taxes and transfers. So what they did in Ireland was they increased the level at which you don't pay any taxes more and more, and that helps the bottom 10, bottom 20%, or the less well off. So that if you end up with the less well off now not having to pay taxes, which they used to have to pay, and at the same time you have a very high minimum wage, you've basically helped promote equality. Now, there's not much maths in that. You're not doing any. You didn't have to integrate anything, multiply numbers and stuff. But at the same time, obviously, it's very much maths because it's all about numbers. Fundamentally, I suppose the issue here would be, oh, what does the Gini coefficient mean? How do you calculate that? There might be some math involved there, but you're getting similar results by just looking at the ratio of income of the top and bottom 10%. So you could have done that yourself with very little maths. I suppose the interesting issue then is more, what does that mean? Is that what you want? For me, I suppose I just wanted to know what it was, because to be honest, I always would be getting the impression that Ireland is a very unequal country, or but I mean, from people complaining about that, but the data shows otherwise. I suppose that makes sense, because in a way, who's going to be going, oh, we're so equal now? You actually have to be constantly, putting pressure on governments and stuff to keep them, keeping their eye on the ball, keep making them. You basically, citizens have to make the politicians remember that the citizens want equality, and if they keep pressurizing them and pointing out, look, don't forget the inequality, or don't forget the less well off, then the politicians will take actions. They will do things to basically lower the taxes for the poor and that kind of stuff. But also, I suppose I'm pretty happy with where Ireland is. That actually, the fact that Ireland is a country where the direction has been to lower the inequality, and yeah, that's nice to know.